Servus und herzlich willkommen zurück bei Lamplight City. Wir haben von unserem untreuen Angestellten erfahren, dass seine Frau, Andrews Wohnung, genau, wir mal mit seiner Frau sprechen sollten. Ich glaube jetzt auch nicht, dass er sie umgebracht hat, weil er hätte keinen Vorteil davon. Er hätte einen Vorteil, wenn seine Frau sterben würde. Ich glaube auch nicht, dass es seine Frau war. Wir haben auch nicht mit ihr gesprochen, aber sie hat einen Vorteil aus der Situation. Und wenn die Desiree tot ist, hat sie keinen Vorteil mehr. Oh mein Gott.
Nice house. It definitely screams, eccentric person lives here. Speaking of which, that must be Mrs. Andrews over there with those rodents.
Die geht mit ihren Eichhörnchen Gassi, oder was?
Rats with fluffy tails. How anyone can find them endearing is beyond me.
Alles klar, dann reden wir mal mit der guten Dame.
Excuse me, Mrs. Andrews?
May I help you?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. I was hoping you could answer a few questions.
All right then. Don't worry, my darlings. Mommy only needs a moment to speak to the nice man, then I'll give you all the nuts you can eat. My little friends just adore nuts, Mr. Fordham.
Guess that explains why squirrels are so attracted to her.
Die hat einen an der Klatsche.
Did you know Desiree Lathan?
Not personally. I never met her, but I knew exactly who she was.
And who was that?
A miserable drunk. Always going out and getting liquored up at her so-called socialite balls. They try to make them seem so fancy and high class, but it's really just a bunch of bitter old hags getting together to gossip about each other. With that kind of lifestyle, it was only a matter of time before it caught up with her.
Okay, die weiß also schon, dass sie tot ist.
Do you happen to know anything about the circumstances surrounding the death of Miss Lathan?
I read in the paper that she was burned to death. In her bed, wasn't it?
That's right. Do you have any idea how that may have happened?
Well, I already told you she was a drunk. Maybe she came home plastered and decided to smoke in bed. I'm rather surprised she was sleeping alone. That woman got around, if you know what I mean.
She certainly seems to know a lot about Desiree for someone who claims to have never met her.
Ja, ganz genau, das denke ich mir jetzt nämlich auch.
Do you have any hobbies or pastimes, Mrs. Andrews?
Well, of course. I do a bit of knitting and I take care of my pets.
I take it you're fond of animals?
Oh, yes. I just love animals. Most prove to be better company than people.
Is that right?
Well, consider this, Mr. Fordham. Animals can't betray you or lie.
Uh-oh, I don't like where this is going.
My furry little companions would never hurt me, unlike several humans I could name.
Who are these companions exactly?
Why, my darling little kitties and squirrel friends, of course.
Die ist verrückt. Die Alte ist völlig verrückt.
Tell me about your cats.
They're the most wonderful little dears. Do you have any pets?
Afraid not. My wife isn't too fond of cleaning up after animals.
Pity. Cats make wonderful pets. They're good company and are independent, unlike dogs. Edgar and Hubert are my pride and joy. I give them only the best of everything, and they in turn give me their unconditional love.
That's delightful.
I used to have a wonderful cat named Tobias, but, he had an unfortunate accident. That's why I never let my two angels out of the house.
Okay, ich meine, ich kann sie verstehen, dass sie von ihrem Mann enttäuscht ist. Das verstehe ich, aber die braucht keine Haustiere, die braucht einen guten Psychiater.
What happened to Tobias the cat?
I really rather not talk about that. It wasn't my finest hour. Let's just say it was an honest misunderstanding which got blown way out of proportion.
Well, now I just have to know what happened. I hate it when people tease gossip and don't deliver.
Ganz genau, das möchte ich jetzt auch wissen.
Your squirrel friends are quite tame.
Oh, aren't they just the sweetest? And so smart, too. When I feed them, they come up and put their little paws on my hands as though they were giving me little squirrel hugs. And the way they look into my eyes, I can almost hear them saying, "Thank you for the nuts."
Well, at least you can be grateful that it's only my voice you hear and not some rabid squirrels.
Thank you for the chat. It was very enlightening.
Oh, my pleasure, Mr. Fordham. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to tending to my little darlings.
Und wieder ein Mitglied der Gesellschaft, das außer Rand und Band ist. Gut. Vielleicht will unser Ehemann erzählen, was mit dieser Katze passiert ist. Das möchte ich jetzt nämlich wissen.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes?
is there anything you can tell me about your wife's old cat, Tobias?
Oh God, there's a name I was hoping never to hear again. She loved that cat. I'm sure she would have married it instead of me if she could. Mangy little bastard was always leaving a mess and knocking things over, but he was Peggy's little angel. Then one day I'd had enough, so I let him outside, and
Yes?
the stupid thing managed to get itself killed. Then things got ugly.
How so?
Peggy got a bit carried away, and, well, let's just say I never imagined a cat could earn someone a criminal record.
Aha.
Plot thickens. Or perhaps sickens.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Andrews.
A criminal record. Ist die gute Dame vorbestraft?
Dear Lord, what is that smell? Did you step in something out there, Fordham?
Private investigation is a dirty job, Upton. You know that.
Genau, wir haben ja da noch was mit. Stimmt.
Got a moment, Upton?
Yes, but let's make this quick.
I need some information on one Margaret Andrews. Apparently, she has a criminal record.
Margaret Andrews, eh? Give me a moment to look her up in the archives. Yes, here we are. Margaret Andrews was brought in for questioning 5 years ago in connection with a fire at a theater in Worcester.
Oh?
Yes, nothing came of it, but she was briefly a suspect. Oh, there's more. She also had a prior conviction for arson.
You don't say.
The file says she set fire to a cab after the driver ran over her cat. She served 6 months in prison for that. This was back in 1835.
Fascinating.
Thank you for your help, Upton. This has been extremely valuable.
So, Margaret Andrews has a jealous streak and a penchant for setting things on fire. Seems a likely culprit to me.
Ja, genau, das sollten wir jetzt auch noch hin. Ich glaube aber trotzdem nicht, dass sie das war. Weil sie hätte keinen Vorteil, beziehungsweise sie würde ihren Vorteil verlieren.
Would it be possible for me to access the mortuary?
The mortuary? What for?
I'd like to consult with Dr. Edwards.
All right, but be careful. Make sure you don't let Snelling see you back there.
That's it for now.
Better get back to it then.
Gut, dann gehen wir in die Leichenhalle.
Dr. Edwards' lab was always a fascinating place to learn about death. A bit less so now that I'm quite the expert.
Oh, did I miss cleaning up some bit of that last corpse? Oh, Fordham, what brings you down here?
Hello, Edwards. I was wondering if I could pick your brain.
Yes, of course. There's one in a jar over there, and I may have another one around here somewhere.
That coroner humor never gets old, does it?
Anyway, let me know what you want to discuss. This fellow's not going anywhere.
Ja, wir würden gern etwas untersuchen lassen, oder? Oder nicht?
Pardon me, Edwards.
Cooler Tisch.
Yes?
Der sieht jetzt strange aus mit seinen roten Augen.
I've got these human ashes from a crime scene.
Straight to the point. I knew I liked you for a reason, Fordham. Who do they belong to?
Desiree Lathan. She was a Gascon Grande Dame.
Oh, of course. I heard about that case. She was found burned in her home, wasn't she?
That's right.
I meant to go over there later today.
Well, then I suppose I've saved you the journey. Would you have a look at these?
Does this mean you're officially on the case?
Not as such. In fact, I'd appreciate it if you didn't mention I'd been here.
Ah, clandestine operation. Sneaking around under Snelling's nose.
I don't have much of a choice. I'm pretty much persona non grata around here these days.
Well, you're always welcome in my mortuary. Preferably while still breathing, of course. Anyway, I'll just take those ashes off your hands. I'm sure your social life will soon improve.
Yes, I was making quite the impression.
This is an interesting choice of container.
It was either that or carry them around in my bare hands.
Well, I'm a bit busy right now, but I should have something for you within the next couple of hours. But you do realize the information won't be exclusive to you. I'll have to pass it on to the detectives on the case.
Naturally. That just gives me more of an incentive to work quickly.
Alles klar. Und das verbrannte Tuch unter dem Bett wäre auch noch interessant.
I found this piece of burned cloth at the crime scene. Could you take a look at it for me?
This is from the Lathan case?
It is, yes.
What do you need me to look at exactly?
It appears to have some oily residue on it.
Interesting. I'm afraid I have my hands full right now, but you can feel free to use my workbench if you'd like.
To do what exactly?
Surely they taught you something about basic chemical analysis when you worked here.
Yes, well, I always let Bill handle the more technical aspects of our cases.
A real pity I'm not around to help you anymore, isn't it?
But I'll have a look and see if something comes back to me.
Gut, jetzt wollen wir natürlich den Rest auch noch wissen, wenn wir schon da sind. Hallo.
Keeping busy down here, Edwards?
Oh, you know me. I've always got my hands in someone.
Edwards always did have a way with words.
This postmortem was just a formality, really. The victim died of a gunshot wound to the head. Last week, though, we had a real kicker. An old man was brought in, and though he appeared quite dead, I was told that he'd been in a trance for over half a year. Apparently, he was hypnotized right at the point of death, and somehow managed to remain alive, in a fashion. In any case, when I began performing the exam, his entire body decayed into a putrefied mess within minutes. It was fascinating.
Should you really be giving me these details, Edwards?
Oh, hell, I don't mind telling you, Miles. It's not like you're going to go tell Snelling. Besides, you're the only one who's come to see me all week. Dead people make lousy conversationalists.
Hey, I take offense to that statement.
Das wäre eher was für dieses Magazin. So schräg wie das klingt.
So, Snelling got promoted to chief, did he?
Yes, not too long after you left. Personally, I think he took advantage of your situation to change things around here.
Was it really that much of a shock? Bill and I weren't exactly the most well-liked detectives on the force.
But you were respected. You two solved over 350 cases in 15 years. You were an institution.
Damn right we were. It's so easy for people to resent their more successful peers.
Ah, Edwards. Nice to know someone missed us.
The Billy Boy.
You didn't examine Bill after he died, did you?
Ha! He wishes.
No, there was nothing inconclusive about his death. He died from impact after falling from the roof of a building. Why? Was there something else I should have looked into?
No, I was just curious.
As fond as I am of Edwards, it would have been a bit much for him to go poking around my insides.
Thanks. That's all I needed to know for the moment.
Anytime, Fordham.
Gut, das heißt, jetzt können wir an diesem Tisch selbst herumdoktern oder so irgendwie.
It's been ages since we got to do any type of chemical analysis. This will be grand.
Dr. Edwards, could you remind me what it is I'm meant to be doing?
Yes, of course. Go ahead and get as much of that oily residue from the cloth into the petri dish.
Okay.
Good. Now add some of the chemical reagent in the red bottle to the dish.
Okay.
Aha! The oil turned orange.
Yes! The reagent has caused a chemical reaction and changed the oil's color. Isn't science fun?
Quite. But how does this help me?
I have some samples of the most common types of flammable oils on the shelf. Go ahead and add them to the test tubes. Good. Now simply check each one with the reagent to see if you can find a match.
And if I don't find one?
Then I suggest going out and looking for more oil samples.
Too bad. I would have bet on it being coal oil.
Next one. Aber ich befürchte, oder können wir das auch nehmen? Nö. Ich befürchte, nachdem da noch eines frei ist, werden wir noch was suchen. Oder?
So much for
Nope.
kerosene being the culprit.
wie das immer schön lustig rein und raus fährt. Ha.
Well, oil be damned. Looks like that's not a match. Oh, you love it.
Ja, das war's vorerst mal. Wir haben noch was anderes zu suchen. Gut. Jetzt weiß ich gerade nicht so richtig. Ich würde gerne mit dem Anwalt sprechen, aber da kommen wir ja nicht rein.
Begging your pardon, sir.
Yes?
Yes.
Perhaps Miss...
No? What's that?
I appreciate...
Enjoy the...
Da brauchen wir vermutlich irgendeinen Bericht oder Analyse vom Gerichtsmediziner, das uns der vorlässt. Aber da haben wir ja noch nichts. Oder?
Pardon me, Edwards.
Yes?
Have you had a chance to look at those ashes I gave you?
Yes, I have.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, there isn't much I can tell you. The victim burned to death at a very high temperature. These ashes are greasy and putrid because of liquefied fat from the body, which burned like a candle. As to what caused her to burn, I cannot say without more evidence. I'm sorry, Miles.
It's quite all right, Edwards. I appreciate the information nonetheless.
Well, just so you don't go away empty-handed, have a copy of my report. Maybe it will be of some use.
Yeah. Absolut. Jetzt können wir.
Thanks. That's all I needed to know for the moment.
Anytime, Fordham.
Jetzt können wir aber zum Rechtsanwalt rein. Also interessanter Fall. Wir haben jetzt da schon mal eine definitiv verdächtige Dame, mit der wir auch noch mal reden sollten. Ja. Aber ich glaube nicht, dass es war.
Nothing more to ask her about right
Ach so.
now.
Okay, dann nicht. Ich glaube aber nicht, dass sie das war und ich glaube nicht, dass sie selbst verbrannt ist. So, jetzt aber.
Begging your pardon, sir.
Yes?
Yes. Da haben wir jetzt was zu.
Perhaps Mr. Usher will see me when he sees this.
No? What's that?
A report from Dr. Malcolm Edwards, the city coroner, confirming Miss Lathan's untimely demise.
Let me see that. Oh my. Wait one moment, would you?
Das ist ein Rohrpostsystem.
Martin, what is the meaning of this?
The gentleman who brought that is a private investigator. He's waiting outside to see you.
Send him in then.
You heard him, Mr. Fordham. You may go inside and see Mr. Usher.
Thank you kindly.
Alles klar, ist er das?
The plaque says it's a portrait of Thomas Usher. Looks like a real go-getter.
Alles klar, dann. Guten Tag.
So, a private investigator, are you?
That's right. Miles Fordham is my name.
Jonas Usher, a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Pleasure's all mine.
So, it would seem that Miss Lathan has shuffled off the mortal coil, as it were.
I'm sorry to say that is indeed the case.
Please come in, have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. I only ask that you kindly wash your hands in the basin first, and limit what you touch in here.
This one seems a bit on edge, doesn't he?
Das ist auch ein bisschen ein Freak.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. I appreciate your cooperation.
Usher seems to like keeping his guests at a...
Ja, können wir jetzt mit dem reden? Ja,
Mr.
ja, sehr
Usher,
gut.
I have some questions for you.
And hopefully I have your answers.
Tja, einfach alles.
What can you tell me about Desiree Lathan?
She was a lovely woman. I'm saddened to hear of her unfortunate passing.
How long had you been her attorney?
She retained me some 10 years ago, I believe.
That's quite a long time.
Yes, I remember I had just gotten over a bout of melancholia, Hadn't been able to work in nearly a month. I didn't think I'd make it out of that, but luckily things took a turn for the better. Miss Lathan came to see me, and I've served as her attorney ever since.
Would you say Miss Lathan is a wealthy woman?
Indeed I would. Her estate is worth a significant sum. Of course, you understand that this is confidential information, so I cannot tell you the exact amount.
Yes, of course.
Wenn das mal kein cooler Bart ist, Entschuldigung. Sehr, sehr geil.
Can you think of anyone who may have wanted to harm Miss Lathan?
No, I can't. What makes you think that someone actually killed her?
It seems the most plausible explanation.
Miss Lathan was getting on in years. It's likely she may have developed a case of pneumonia. That's the most common killer of the elderly, you know. I had it when I was younger. Most unpleasant. Constant coughing, spitting up phlegm, rattling in the lungs. Thankfully, I made a full recovery.
But supposing that was the cause of death, how would it explain the fact that her body was completely burned?
She was a smoker. Perhaps she was having a cigarette when she died and dropped it on the bed, causing it to catch fire.
I found no cigarette butts at the crime scene.
I'm merely offering my opinion, Mr. Fordham. You can take it or leave it.
I think we should leave it.
Ich glaube auch. Ich glaube auch. Und deswegen hat der Angst vor Bakterien, weil er selbst einmal Lungenentzündung gehabt hat, oder wie?
I found this letter in Miss Lathan's bedroom, which mentions that she recently changed her will. Could you tell me a bit more about the circumstances surrounding this change?
That's not an uncommon occurrence. People change their wills all the time. Relatives and friends fall in and out of favor constantly.
Had Miss Lathan made changes to her will previously?
No, this was the first time.
What change did she make exactly?
Just a change to her beneficiary. Nothing out of the ordinary.
And when did this change occur?
About 4 months ago, if I recall correctly. Yes, it was definitely in June, because I'd been in bed with a nasty stomach flu at the end of May. That was no fun, let me tell you. I think I lost nearly 6 pounds from the constant trips to the WC. Couldn't keep a thing down, and whatever did stay down soon came out the other end, if you get my meaning.
I'd say his meaning is regrettably impossible to avoid.
Okay, also der ist einfach Hypochonder und oft krank, alles klar. Und wer ist der Begünstigte?
Who did Miss Lathan name as her new beneficiary?
Mr. Fordham, please! You know I couldn't possibly tell you that. There is such a thing as attorney-client privilege.
Ja, aber das wollen wir jetzt wissen, Entschuldigung, das ist wichtig. Meistens ist es nämlich der.
I'm
oder die.
aware of that. However, Miss Lathan is deceased. Therefore, it stands to reason that she is in fact no longer your client.
True, but her estate is still in my hands. I'm not going to betray her trust just because she's dead.
About Miss Lathan,
I told you.
do you not find it suspicious, Mr. Usher, that Miss Lathan died under such mysterious circumstances only 4 months after naming a new beneficiary? You said yourself she was wealthy. Does it not make sense that someone might have wanted her inheritance?
I suppose it's not entirely out of the question.
Right. So tell me the name of Miss Lathan's beneficiary so I can determine if this was, in fact, a murder.
Very well. It was a man named Roger DeVay.
Do you have any information on where I can find him?
Only his address. It's 775 Pumblechook Place in Chumley.
That'll do nicely. Thank you, Mr. Usher.
Alles klar. Ich glaube, das ist nämlich, also meistens geht es um Kohle, Entschuldigung, das ist doch immer so. Es geht immer um Kohle oder Macht. Aber nachdem hier keine Macht ist, geht es wahrscheinlich um Kohle.
How long have you been practicing law, Mr. Usher?
Usher and Price has been operating since 1805. I took over from my father 15 years ago. The stress hasn't helped my heartburn, I can tell you that. Why, just last night I was tossing and turning because I couldn't stand the burning in my throat. That's why I've got these bags under my eyes, you know.
Ah, yes. And Mr. Price?
He's still here, although I think he'll probably be retiring soon as well. But the law firm has done well over the years, and I have a feeling it'll do even better in the years to come.
Oh? Why is that?
We're currently beginning a group litigation against Royal Maverick for the Ligeia disaster. I'm confident that we'll recover quite a significant sum for the families of those killed. You weren't by chance affected by the disaster, were you?
Thankfully, I wasn't, no.
Shame. You could have joined the class action and done quite well when we win.
You know, I always thought we detectives made our living off human tragedy.
Ein Anwälte auch. Aber jetzt wollen wir das noch wissen.
Mr. Usher, I've noticed from your rules and habits that you seem to have a particular aversion to germs. Why is that, if I may ask?
I've been ill most of my life, Mr. Fordham. I was a sickly child, and unfortunately my condition hasn't improved with age. It's a miracle I'm still alive. That's why I'm so careful about exposing myself to germs.
I see.
How's my color? Do I look pale to you?
Not particularly.
I saw myself in the mirror this morning and thought I looked a bit peaked. Also, my leg has been hurting more than usual, which has been cause for concern.
Now you've really done it, Miles.
Yes, well, moving on. Thank you for your help, Mr. Usher.
The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Fordham.
Ein Hypochonder. Aber naja, ich würde mal sagen, danke fürs Zusehen. In der nächsten Episode werden wir uns diesen Herrn DeVay mal vornehmen. Und ich bin gespannt, wie es weitergeht. Schaltet auch das nächste Mal wieder ein. Vielen Dank fürs Zusehen. Servus und bis bald.